All right, everyone, welcome back. Today we are taking a deep dive into something pretty fascinating, at least if you're into global politics.
Right up our alley.
Exactly. And this one comes straight from some of our listeners who sent in a bunch of Thai language sources.
Yeah, we got a whole stack of newspaper articles, online news pieces, the whole works.
All about Thaksin Shinawatra.
Thaksin's return to Thailand after 18 years.
18 years.
It's pretty huge news.
It is. So for those who maybe aren't super familiar with Thai politics, can you give us like a little bit of the backstory here?
Well, the short version is Thaksin was Prime Minister of Thailand twice.
Nice.
But he was ousted in a military coup back in 2006.
And he's been living in exile ever since.
Dubai, mostly, but yeah, basically in exile.
So why is his return such a big deal? I mean, it's been a long time.
Well, for one thing, he's still incredibly popular with a large segment of the population.
Especially in the rural areas.
Right, and his political party, Pheu Thai, is still a major force in Thai politics.
His daughter is even the current prime minister.
Exactly, so you can see why his return is causing such a stir.
Yeah, this is like a political earthquake.
And we're here to break down the aftershocks.
Love it. So where do we even begin with all this?
Well, I think the most logical place to start is with Thaksin's first public appearance after his return.
Which I have to say was not exactly low-key.
Not at all. He chose to make his grand entrance at a political rally.
A rally. I thought he couldn't hold office anymore.
He can't, and that's what makes this so interesting.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So this rally was on November 13th in Udon Thani province.
Udon Thani,
It's considered the heartland of Thaksin's supporters.
the great shirts.
Exactly. And according to one of our sources, Amarin TV, the place was absolutely packed.
Like how packed are we talking?
They estimated about 10,000 people were there.
Wow, that's massive for a local event.
It is. People were wearing red, cheering, holding up signs, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like quite a scene. So if he wasn't campaigning for himself, who was this rally for?
He was there to support the Pheu Thai party candidate for provincial governor.
Okay, so he's still very much involved in the party, even from exile.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the big questions everyone's asking. What's his endgame here?
Right. Is this just about boosting support for Pheu Thai, or is there something more going on?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely a sign that he's not content to just sit on the sidelines.
I mean, after 18 years, who would be?
Good point. He's back in Thailand, and he wants to make his presence felt.
So what did he actually say in this speech? Did he give us any clues about his intentions?
Well, he started off with a very personal touch, talking about how much he missed Thailand.
Appealing to the heartstrings?
Exactly. He talked about his connection to the people of Udon Thani.
Emphasizing those ties.
And he even joked about how he's getting older.
But his heart is still young.
Yes. He actually used the Thai phrase, heart is still salon, which was a nice way to connect with the crowd.
Very clever. So he's playing up the emotional angle, reminding everyone why they loved him in the first place.
Right, but then he shifts gears a bit.
Where does he go from there?
He starts talking about the economy.
The economy. At a local election rally.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? He goes on at length about things like household debt, job creation, boosting rural incomes.
Those are all big national level issues.
Exactly. So it's like he's setting the stage for a broader economic agenda.
Even though he can't personally enact any policies.
Right, but his party can.
And his daughter is the prime minister.
It's all very strategic.
So he's using this local event to send a national message.
Precisely. And he doesn't shy away from mentioning his daughter, Paetongtarn, either.
Oh, really? What does he say about her?
He talks about how she shares his concerns about the people's debt.
Positioning her as a true successor.
Exactly. And he even jokes that he has no power over her.
That she's the one in charge now.
Which, of course, is a way of addressing the elephant in the room.
The whole puppet master accusation.
Yep. He's acknowledging her authority while still subtly reminding everyone of their connection.
Very clever. So it's all about balance, projecting strength, but also showing some humility.
Exactly. And then to really drive the point home,
he does something dramatic.
He does. He directly addresses drug traffickers.
Drug traffickers?
Yeah, he tells them he's back and that he hates them.
Wow. That's a strong statement.
It is, especially considering his own controversial war on drugs campaign when he was prime minister.
Right, that was a major part of his legacy, for better or worse.
Exactly. So he's tapping into that, reminding people of his tough stance on crime.
And maybe trying to reclaim that narrative a bit.
Possibly. It's definitely a way to appeal to a certain segment of the population.
Those who see him as a strong leader who can solve problems.
Right. And speaking of strong leadership...
there's this nickname he's given himself.
Ah, yes, the So Thoreau.
Which means?
Interfering in everything.
Oh, wow. That's bold.
It is. And it's definitely raising some eyebrows.
Especially considering the accusations that he's still trying to control things from behind the scenes.
It's like he's leaning into that image, almost daring his opponents to challenge him.
So he's back, he's making his presence known, and he's not afraid to stir the pot.
Exactly. And the Thai political scene just got a whole lot more interesting.
No kidding. So what's the reaction been to all this? Are people excited about his return? Or are they worried?
I think it's a mix, honestly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Some people are thrilled to have him back.
They see him as a savior.
Exactly. They believe he can fix the economy, restore stability, bring back the good old days.
But others are more skeptical.
Right, definitely. They see his return as a threat to democracy.
They worry he'll try to undermine the current government, maybe even stage another comeback.
And then there's the whole family dynamic to consider.
His daughter being the prime minister.
It's a really complicated situation.
No kidding. So how are the Thai media outlets covering all this?
Well, two of our newspaper sources, Khawsat and Madashan, both published some pretty insightful analyses of Thaksin's speech.
What are they saying?
They're basically trying to figure out what it all means.
Is this just political theater? A way to boost support for Pheu Thai in this one province?
Or is it a sign of something much bigger?
Like a national comeback in the making?
Exactly. And they're also looking at the potential impact on the current government.
How will Thaksin's return affect his daughter's leadership?
Will he try to exert more control? Will she try to distance herself from him?
It's a real tightrope walk for her.
It is. She has to balance her loyalty to her father with her responsibility to the country.
And she's under intense scrutiny from all sides.
Absolutely. Every decision she makes will be analyzed in the context of her father's return.
So this Udon Thani election has become even more important now.
Oh, yeah. It's taken on a whole new significance.
Because it's not just about a local race anymore.
It's a test of Thaksin's influence.
And a preview of what might happen on a national scale.
Exactly. If Pheu Thai wins big, it could be seen as a mandate for Thaksin's return to power.
But if they lose?
It could signal that his hold on Thai politics is weakening.
So the stakes are pretty high.
They are. And then there's this whole Udon Thani poll controversy to add to the mix.
What happened there?
Well, a local university conducted a poll before the election.
Trying to gauge public opinion.
Right. But the results were, well, let's just say they were pretty favorable to Pheu Thai.
And people started crying foul.
Big time. There were accusations of bias, manipulation, even outright fraud.
So this poll, which was supposed to be a neutral assessment, ended up adding more fuel to the fire.
Exactly. And it just shows how deeply divided Thai society is right now.
Between those who support Thaksin and those who oppose him.
It's a rift that's been growing for years.
And his return has brought it all back to the surface.
Absolutely. So yeah, things are pretty tense over there.
No kidding. So for our listeners who might be wondering why they should care about all this.
Yeah, why should anyone outside of Thailand pay attention to this political drama?
It's a great question, and I think there are a few reasons.
First of all, Thailand is a key player in Southeast Asia.
Economically, politically, strategically.
Exactly. So what happens there has ripple effects throughout the region.
And beyond, really.
Right. And second, this whole situation with Thaksin is a great example of how personality can dominate politics.
Even when that person is technically out of the game?
It's fascinating to see how he's managed to maintain his influence from exile.
And how his return is shaking things up.
It's like a real-life political thriller.
With sky-high stakes.
And an ending that no one can predict.
So yeah, I'd say it's worth paying attention to.
Definitely.
It really is. I mean, it's like watching a political chess match play out in real time.
And we're all trying to figure out Thaksin's next move.
Right. Like, will he try to push for a more formal role in the government?
Or will he be content to just pull strings from behind the scenes?
And how will his daughter navigate all this? It can't be easy being in her position.
Not at all. Imagine the pressure she's under.
To balance her family ties with her responsibilities to the country.
And with the whole world watching.
Yeah, I mean, Thaksin's return has put Thailand back in the international spotlight.
For sure. And it's raised a lot of questions about the future of democracy in the region.
Right. Because Thailand has been seen as a kind of bellwether for Southeast Asia.
If democracy can backslide there, it could have implications for other countries.
So yeah, the stakes are pretty high.
They are. And that's why it's so important to understand what's happening on the ground.
And that's what we're trying to do here, right?
Exactly. We're taking a deep dive into these Thai language sources.
To give our listeners a glimpse into this complex and fascinating political drama.
and to help them connect the dots between what's happening in Thailand and the broader global trends.
Because as we've seen, these events can have ripple effects far beyond their borders.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all this?
I think for me, it's the idea that Thaksin's return is not just about one man or one election.
It's a much bigger story.
It's about the ongoing struggle for power in Thailand.
And the challenges facing democracy in a rapidly changing world.
And it's a story that's still being written?
Exactly. So stay tuned, folks. This is just the beginning.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
And keep those Thai language sources coming. We love hearing from you. We love hearing from you.